And thank you all for coming today. Welcome to our Colleges with Support Services panel. I'm Tricia Bresnahan, and I'm co-chair of Darien's Special Education Parent Advisory Committee. This evening, Darien Library, Darien Public Schools, and Darien High School Parent Association are co-sponsoring our event. And we'd like to thank Darien Library for hosting us this evening, especially Samantha Cardone, who has taken a lot of time with helping us organize this event and assisting with all the technology. We'd also like to thank Kathy Oster, Director of Counseling for Darien High School and Middlesex Middle School, for moderating our panel tonight. And of course, we would like to thank our college reps for taking the time out tonight to be a part of our panel. We're going to hear from them in just a minute. Just to let you know, in the last 20 minutes of the presentation, we'll go to audience questions. You can submit those through the Q&A feature. The Q&A feature can only be seen by the panelists, so feel free to put them in there. Just please refrain from using naming students or teachers or anyone to maintain privacy. Darien Library will be taping this evening's presentation, and we'll be sending it out in a CPAC blast when it's ready. If you're not on the CPAC blast and you'd like to get the recording, you can email us at dariencpac@gmail.com, and we will add you. In addition, feel free to email us with any questions or ideas for future presentations. We're coming up with ideas for the rest of the year and next year. And if you'd like to join us as volunteers, we're all always looking for more input and help. So thanks again for coming this evening. And here is Kathy Oster.
Thank you, Tricia. I'm extremely excited to be a part of the presentation tonight. We have some incredible panelists joining us from 5 different schools. And the way we'll start off is by asking each one of them to tell us a little bit about their school and their program, and then we will ask them some questions. So to start off, we have Mary Byrnes, the Director of the Office of Services from Fordham University. And we have Kathy Radziunas, who's the Director of the Office of Student Accessibility from Sacred Heart University. And Ben Briskin, who is is in charge of marketing and special programs for the University of Connecticut. And we also have Monica Aisenberg, who's a disability specialist from the University of Maryland, and Lynne DaSilva, the Director of Arch Learning Community and the Engage program at Dean College. So thank you all very much for joining us tonight. It's always a wonderful opportunity to learn more about programs that are offered at the different colleges and universities to support students with IEPs and 504s. And this is it's a big process for everyone, but it's especially important that students and parents of students with IEPs and 504s have an opportunity to hear about all of the wonderful services that are available, so that they could make a decision about a good match for them. I used to work with someone who always said, it's a match to be made, not a prize to be won. And I think listening to you tonight and your programs will help parents and students make that perfect match. So thank you very much. Kathy, can we start with you, and you'll tell us a little bit about your school and your program?
Sure. Sacred Heart University is a relatively small school. We have 10,000 students, 6,000 undergrads. Of those students, usually around 1,000 students come in and request accommodations. There's probably another 5 to 10% who don't come forward, and that's okay. That's their choice. Of the students who do get accommodations, 97% of them stay with our school. Our retention rate is really good for students who actually do come and get accommodations. Services we have, in addition to getting your ADA accommodations, I just hired another one, but we have 2 learning specialists who can meet with students and help with that transition, help with learning tools, study skills, and make sure that students connect with our tutoring. For every freshman class, there's a tutor available, so no excuses there. We also have student success coordinators that again can help with that transition and making sure students stay in touch with the resources that are available, connect with their professors within the first 2 weeks, things like that. And all of this is included in tuition.
Great, thank you very much. Mary, would you like to tell us about your school and your programs?
Sure. Hi, I'm Mary Byrnes. I'm the Director of Disability Services at Fordham. We have 3 different campuses. I'm the director of all the campuses and all of the schools except for the law school. There's approximately 18,000 students at Fordham. 10,000 of them are undergrad. The undergrads are divided between Lincoln Center and Rose Hill. Rose Hill is in the Bronx. It's more of a traditional campus, where Lincoln Center is more of an urban type of campus. It's not very big. There's multiple buildings. Out of those students, we have approximately 10% who are registered with our office. We have 1,807 students as of yesterday. So just to give you an idea, in the academic year of 2013 to 2014, when I took over, we had 541 students registered with our office. So it's gone up over 200%. Our staff has also increased. At that time, there were only 2 of us. Now there's 7 of us divided between the 2 campuses. We have academic coaches. We used to call it the transition year program, but it's just easier to just say academic coaching across the board. Academic coaching is available once a week to any student registered with our office who is interested. It's anywhere between 45 minutes and an hour. You meet with the same coach each week. The coaches are generally, but not always, PhD students in the education program at Fordham. Some are people who actually interned in our office as MSW students when they were getting their master's in social work, and they were so good that even though they took other jobs, they work for us in the evenings and sometimes on the weekend. That program is included in the tuition. It doesn't cost anything extra. Unfortunately, unlike some of the other colleges, Fordham doesn't offer too many extra services as far as for students specifically with disabilities. I keep bringing up that I'd like to have a tutoring center that's just dedicated to students, particularly with ADHD, but which ADHD, by the way, a lot of the kids benefit from the academic coaching, which does the time management, etc., and executive functioning skills. But we don't have tutoring available within our office for people who are specifically trained to work with students with learning disabilities. We don't have anyone who specializes in dyslexia or anything like that. The university, like every other university, does have tutoring pretty much for every single subject. But just so you know, it's not, and that's free as well. And we also have some online. Just so you know, though, that they're not specialized to learning disabilities. That's it for now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mary. Ben, would you go next, please?
So hi, everyone. My name's Ben. I'm the Marketing and Special Programs Coordinator here at the Center for Students with Disabilities here at UConn, University of Connecticut. We are primarily based out of our Stores campus, which is our main campus, but we also have Center for Students with Disabilities staff and smaller offices at each of our regional campuses as well. On the main Stores campus, there is between 18 and 1,000 students, here on the Stores campus. And of that number, around 5,000, getting closer to 6,000 students are registered with our office. So we are seeing a significant population of students with disabilities that are registering with us in order to, receive accommodations of whatever they might need. In general, our Center for Students with Disabilities is available for students to be able to register with. It's a very easy process. We always tell students they can do that right online. They can fill out a form. They can upload any sort of documentation they may have, and they get to meet with someone specifically from our office that we call a disability service professional. That person will be able to meet one-on-one with each student who registers with our office, talk about what accommodations they might need, and sort of get moving on the accommodation process to make sure students are set up with whatever they might need. Within our office, so we have a whole host of disability service professionals who, again, are meeting one-on-one with students to go over accommodations. In addition to that, we have a whole exam and accommodations team. So again, we're hosting a lot of exams for students who might need test-taking accommodations right here in our office. And so we have a whole team that's dedicated to scheduling those and making sure students can access those services. We have a technology team in our office as well that focuses on assistive technology and is able to sort of navigate with students any tech-based accommodations, or even making sure students registered with our office have access to different assistive technology options. And so our main office has a lot of resources in those departments, served to best support students with disabilities who might be in need of anything. On top of that, that's everything that comes with our main office. I work specifically for the Beyond Access program that is housed within our office, but it is a separate service. It is a fee-based service, so it's a little bit different than the standard options that everyone at UConn, all the UConn students get when they can register with our office, which of course is free. The Beyond Access program is a fee-based program. Essentially what it is it's individualized meetings across the whole semester where students can sign up for it and meet one-on-one with what we call a strategy instructor from our program. Strategy instructors are usually found within graduate programs. There are graduate students here on our campus. They are housed within programs like education, school psychology, clinical psychology, social work, related fields, and they all receive training on working specifically with students with disabilities to be able to participate in the Beyond Access program. The way the program is set up is that students are coming in from a variety of places. We really work one-on-one with students in the Beyond Access program to develop an individualized learning plan that best suits what they're looking for at college. That could be executive function support in terms of time management, keeping up with organization, and whatever it might be. It could be thinking through academic strategies, whether that's note-taking or studying for exams or whatever it might be. We even work on things like career goals or social goals or getting involved on campus or even just navigating being a UConn student. So we really have a mix of things that we're equipped to be able to work on with students. And again, students are able to kind of craft a goal or a plan that works best for them. And of course, we're able to work on it over the course of the whole semester. Students usually sign up for 1 to 3 hours per week for the Beyond Access program. And of course, the fee changes based on how many hours per week you sign up for. And again, that's where, we're locking that in kind of like a class. It's with the same person. It meets weekly in the same place. And again, that's a semester by semester agreement. So we have some students who do it as sort of a transition to UConn, and we have some students who use it for every semester they're here.
Thank you, Ben. That's a lot of information. Would you tell us about your program and the services your school offers?
Hello, everybody. My name is Monica Eisenberg, and I'm a disability specialist with the University of Maryland, located in College Park. That is our primary campus. Accessibility and Disability Services, or ADS, provides accommodations to qualified students, as well as helps them with accessing services, programs, and activities across campus. Maryland is a very large school. We have approximately 30,000 undergraduate students and as well as approximately like 10,000 graduate students. About 7% of the student body utilized academic accommodations over the 2022-2023 school year. So there are a lot of students who don't use accommodations, but the students that do find a lot of support through our department. ADS or Accessibility and Disability Services is broken down into 5 different units. So we have disability specialists, which is my role on campus, and we meet directly one-on-one with students to help provide them with those academic based accommodations, housing-based accommodations, or employment-based accommodations. We also have an assistive technology department that helps with alternative textbook-based accommodations or accommodated note-taking. We have our own accommodated testing office to help with any accommodated testing needs. Communication access services, which is going to help with anything from sign language interpreters to transcription services to assistive listening devices, and then front desk, which also helps with connecting students to various departments or services on campus as well. So those are our units, and we work really cohesively together to support students in whatever their needs are. Given the size of the University of Maryland, ADS doesn't directly provide transition services to students, but we do have fee-based programs at the University of Maryland. One of them is called the Succeeds Clinic, which is specifically for students with ADHD that helps them transition into college. We also have Cigna, which is for neurodivergent students, so really primarily helps students with ADHD and or autism, and that really specifically helps students transition into college as well as provides one-on-one support with breaking down chunking assignments. Both of those are going to be fee-based services though. And then overall available to all students is going to be things like our tutoring center, our writing center, our oral communication center. Those are going to be available to any student on our campus, but not necessarily have specific programming or supports for students with disabilities.
Thank you, Monica. And Lynn?
Hi, everyone. My name is Lynn. Thank you for having me here this evening. Dean College is a small liberal arts college in Massachusetts. We're small, we're at about 1,200 students. We are about 30 miles outside of Boston, and we are in a nice little green suburban campus. About 22% of the student population at Dean College does access accommodations through our Disability Services Office. I work directly with Disability Services as well as many other learning supports that are present at Dean College, including our tutoring center, our writing center, our math center, our academic coaching area. I specifically oversee the Arch Learning Community, which is an academic support program for students with diagnosed learning differences or other learning challenges. It is a program that students do have to apply for at the time they are applying for admission to Dean College. As students are accepted to the program, part of the program is that they all receive accommodations. They all receive a certain amount of one-on-one academic coaching through our academic coaching program. We do bring our students to campus early for a Prep for Success orientation, early move-in. We have specialized advisors in our program. We also offer cohort classes for students that are part of the Arch Learning Community, meaning that they take classes with other students in the Arch Learning Community. Those classes are a little bit smaller in size. They're taught by instructors who have a background in teaching and working with students that have learning challenges. We also offer a living learning community within one of our first-year dorms for students who are part of the Arch Learning Community. The Engage program is another program that I oversee. That is a program that is a first-year program, and it's geared towards students with social and emotional challenges. So students who may be on the spectrum, social pragmatic communication disorder, something along those lines, really benefit from involvement in this program. The program provides a social skills group on a weekly basis, as well as peer mentors, outside programming, as well as academic coaching to address those one-on-one skills around academic success.
Thank you, Lynn. And really, this has just been such a great overview to see such a variety, not only a large state school to a small college and a medium school, but the variety of programs and services that are offered, either for pay or included in tuition. So thank you for helping give some of those examples. I just want to start now with some specific questions. I know in your summary, some of you already answered some of the questions about fees or the size of school, but perhaps we can go to admissions. Is there a specific process for admissions to your school or your program for students with learning disabilities, or would it be part of the regular admissions?
Ours is just part of the regular admissions. Students often ask, should they include and disclose as part of their essay? And I say that's up to them if they think that's significant to how they got where they are and where they want to go. But it's just a typical part. And we usually, students will come forward and either make a phone call or we'll have a Zoom call if they have questions about what services they can have beforehand, before they make their decision. We also have a lot of welcome weekends where they can come and tour the university and meet with us, briefly to talk about what the possibilities are and what resources we have. But most of the students, we really don't fully interact with them until after they're committed and they have their schedule so that we can talk about what accommodations are appropriate.
Very similarly, at the University of Maryland, there isn't a separate process. It would be all through the general admissions process. Admissions looks at a student's application holistically. So taking really everything into account that a student has within their, history, looking at the fuller picture of their experience academically, their experience outside of academics, all of that. We also have welcome events and things like that where students can meet disability specialists at those who can help answer general questions about our specific registration process and how to access accommodations. But specifics to that wouldn't be determined until a student is officially registered with our department or has, committed to the university.
Yeah, and I can say for UConn, pretty similar process to the ones just described for regular admission. So again, students can disclose that on their essay questions if they choose to, and that's something that we will sometimes talk to incoming students about. So pretty much the same process there in terms of regular admissions. I'll do my best to try to keep this, as least confusing as possible. But that in terms of the regular admissions process, it's mostly the same. For Beyond Access, which again is our enhanced support program, that is the fee-based program separate just from being a UConn student. That's obviously optional for students to choose to sign up for. We do have an application for it on our website. It's not competitive. We simply put it there as like a declaration of interest. So for students who might be interested in participating in our Beyond Access program, what we always say is step one is becoming a UConn student. So going through that normal process and applying and getting accepted to UConn. And then after they do that, they can reach out to us or fill out an application on our website, which again, not competitive, just serving as a way to let us know they're interested in the program.
Thank you. I wonder if it's a little different for a smaller school or program, Lynn, or
Yeah, so for students who are not applying to the Arch Learning Community, they do not need to disclose before applying. Students can register with accessibility services at any time after they commit to Dean College, so they can apply in August before they come. They can apply in November as they're getting ready for finals. So there's really not any time limit to when they can disclose. Students who are applying directly to the Arch Learning Community, we do require as part of the application process for them to provide certain documentation. Part of that documentation that we look for is maybe the IEP or the 504, neuropsych testing, something like that, that will give us an indication of what their learning disability is so that we can start to work on providing the kind of services that they need.
Thank you. Mary, did you want to add anything about that?
Yeah, definitely. So ours is pretty much the same as everyone else stated. You don't have to identify anything in your application to get into Fordham. But again, as somebody else said, if it was something that you want to write about, because it had some impact that was, meaningful, absolutely, you can, but it's not required. It's the same exact process, as everybody else without a disability. Also same, once you commit, you are welcome to, they'll give you your official ID number and your email and all that. And you can apply, if you go to our website, there's an application that you fill out, that kind of just tells us everything, different categories, but also will tell us, in your own words, the student can write, how they're impacted by their disability, which is very helpful for us when we actually do an intake with the student. And in that same application, you can also upload your documentation. Same thing, no one is rejected from the program. Everyone is can apply. Our documentation, we're not really totally rigorous with the documentation. It kind of depends on what it is you may be asking for, but generally we'll take 504 from Darien High School. It also depends on what you're asking for. It also depends on what your disability is. We may, if it's a mental health disability, we may ask for, and disabilities can come at any time. Maybe it's just developed and you didn't have a 504 in high school, and that's fine. You can get a letter from your therapist, your doctor, that kind of goes into details of what accommodations they might recommend. And we'll see if we can apply them. One thing that you have to make sure that you understand is that colleges, the accommodations can be very different than the accommodations you had in high school. And sometimes students have a little bit of difficulty understanding that, but they have to be reasonable. So if you ever think that maybe, would this be unreasonable? Do I have any questions? You can always call my office. You can email my office, and we're happy to explain why that may or may not work. Also, like everyone else just said too, we can't really review your documentation and all that stuff until after you've committed, things like that, because we can't really promise anything until we have everything in front of us. Trying to think what else might be helpful about just the whole process of beginning at the college. And just like I think Lynn just said, yeah, there's no deadline of when you have to register. As I said, sometimes you don't get a disability. I mean, this probably wouldn't apply to anybody in this group, but until, you're 20. But it's something that can be done at any time. Also, as far as an incoming freshman, yes, of course, we know there's many students who will say, oh, no, I want to try it differently in college. I don't need any accommodations. Oh, I can do it. And we're not saying the student can't do it, but it's always a good idea to have them in place should they need them. We encourage our freshmen, again, not mandated. We encourage our freshmen to put in their applications, their documentation, and then give us a call. We now, since, Zoom, since the pandemic, we now are able to do intakes on Zoom during the summer, save some, if you're coming from Darien to Fordham, that's not very far, but we have students from all over the country and the world. We can't expect them to come in for an intake. Again, nothing to panic about, but sometimes it's nice to kind of know what you're going to have and how it's going to work and things like that. But again, not mandatory that you do it in the summer, not mandatory at all, but we would encourage people to do it the sooner the better.
Great, thank you. So it sounds like, that initial question was about applying to a specific program about a disability, but in every case, everyone suggests that a student applies to the school through the regular application process and then reaches out to your office with the documentation that they have from the school, sometimes an IEP, sometimes a 504, or just documentation of a disability. So can you describe perhaps accommodations that are typically offered at your college?
We, out of our 1,000 students, 974 of them have testing accommodations. That means extended time, stop the clock, whatever it is they need. Sometimes it's just a separate environment depending on what their disability is. So a lot of our students get that one. We use a lot of assistive technology. There's this amazing thing called Otter AI, which records and can provide closed captioning. So your brain can now see what the professor is saying while you're hearing it. You can save it, go over it again, and use it for your notes. I'd say those would probably be the most common ones. That, and sometimes students will request to have extended time for assignments. That particular accommodations, to be honest with you, it used to be that they had till the end of the semester, and that just trips everybody up. They end up doing 5 papers and studying for 5 finals the last week of school. So now it's just usually 48 hours after the due date to kind of give them a little bit of buffer to do some time management. So those are pretty much the most common ones that we see. Then, of course, we have students who are visually impaired or hearing impaired, and we have assistive technology for that too.
I think I can reiterate most of that. When it comes to academics or in the classroom, it's the extended time, taking time in taking a test in a distraction-free setting. We have a testing center. We have text-to-speech, speech-to-text scribing services, human readers for exams. But we also have accommodations through housing for students that require single rooms for whatever the reason be, dining accommodations, buildings and facilities for students who, may have physical limitations. So when, looking at accommodations, there's a really broad range of things for families to look for.
At Maryland, we also have housing-based accommodations, academic-based accommodations, and then student employment-based accommodations that can often apply to graduate students who are working in assistantships and positions like that. But in terms of academic accommodations, the most common are going to be to those testing-based accommodations, note-taking based accommodations, but we do have an independent communication access services department. So for anyone who needs those transcribing based services, or as well as sign language based services, those things are also offered. So we have a variety of different services for different student needs.
Yeah, and I would say that's pretty similar for UConn as well. A lot of the same types of accommodations you have been hearing about, we have here at UConn as well. Testing accommodations are probably one of the biggest ones. We have a whole exam team at our office that helps to administer those, and we have an online scheduling system where students can sign up to take exams at our office. We also have things like deadline extensions, attendance flexibility, note-taking assistance, whether that's peer-based or technology-based, priority registration for being able to register for classes early if there's a need based on any sort of documented disability or condition, reduced course load for taking less than the full-time amount of credits. So again, we have a list of these. I don't need to read them all, but we have a list of these on our website that any potential UConn student can come check out and see if they would like to. Echoing as well what other people are saying, it doesn't just stick to the academic realm. We have, it could be campus accessibility accommodations, whether that's parking or that's the accessible van service we have. It could be housing accommodations in terms of single room or air conditioning or whatever it might be. Same thing with dining. So again, the same message that everybody else is saying is that there's a whole wide variety of accommodations, and whatever the need is, we always just encourage students to reach out and talk to us, and we'll figure it out together.
Can I just jump in to clarify something? You don't necessarily get to choose what accommodation you're going to have. You request it based on your documentation and based on your disability. I think we all have a good conversation with you. That's called the interactive process. And that's where we learn about what's worked for you in the past and what your needs are. We do sometimes get students who will make an unreasonable request, and it's not related to their disability at all. They just know they'd do better if they had X, Y, or Z. And we will have to try to find something, some other way of helping them, our learning specialists or something like that. But your disability, your accommodations have to be warranted by your disability, your documentation, and your narrative that you tell us.
Hi, just like everyone else said, same thing. The most popular accommodation is testing accommodations, extended time, a distraction reduced environment, things like that. We can provide a scribe if someone needs a scribe. We can give a reader if someone needs a reader. We do have some other accommodations that's outside of testing that, I mean, there's other testing accommodations too, but those are the most popular ones. We use Glean, which is a note-taking app that you just really put on your phone. And now it actually, the version that we have will actually not only record everything, it will also transcribe. So the student basically has notes that they get as soon as they walk out of the classroom. We do not utilize live note takers anymore. Everything is by scribe, by Glean. However, I mean, in rare cases, we will provide a live note taker along with Glean. Other popular accommodations, we give extensions, 2 extensions per class per semester. Same thing, the recommended time is about 48 hours because that all then comes into issues with time management and things like that. If we, it always goes with a warning and we have a conversation and see if, some students are like, you know what, I don't want that. Not many say that, but they don't want the temptation. But yeah, we have a ton of accommodations. Our office at Fordham, we're part of the committee for housing when it comes to students asking for accommodations in the housing, whether that's a single room or something like that. I'm on it. Someone else from my office is on it. Someone from health services is on it. It all depends on what the student is seeking, who else is on the committee, but all of the accommodation process for housing though doesn't come through my office. It begins with residential life. Same thing for dining. Also, we have a committee for dining, not just for dining, but same members plus someone from the dining staff as well, usually the director, someone, and the committee will review. But you can always, I know there's a lot of allergies. There's a lot of people with celiac. So that's something you can always call and ask about too before you even put in the accommodation. I mean, that could be the deal breaker for someone depending on what a student's allergy is. I mean, of course, we have they have the stations that have, just certain meals, but these are all things that each of the departments would handle, but we do have a committee. So we do offer housing accommodations, dining accommodations. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, and facilities. Again, we don't have a facilities person in our office, but we have a great relationship with them. We put in a request. It's done immediately. We had a request. They're building a new building with cafeteria, and we had a student inquire about what's going to happen. Are they going to put in X, Y, and Z? And I just wrote to one person who was the project manager, and he had we had an entire Zoom call with actually the student council, and half of facilities and dining was there. So everybody's very responsive to any questions, but we work very well together. So all of the other departments we coordinate with, even though we don't do it necessarily in-house, we do work with everyone. We collaborate, and we do it well.
Thank you so much. And thank you all for um, adding about accommodations for housing and facilities and parking and the different food options that would be available on campus. I also wonder if you could talk a little bit about social emotional supports that might be available for students.
I'll go first this time. Um, there's really, unfortunately, not a lot at Fordham. I am on a path to increasing everything that we have. But you know, it also matters with different budgets, space, things like that. I think some of the things that I am trying to bring into Fordham matters a lot, matters a lot to the students, but it's a little difficult because of space being in New York City. Even though the Bronx campus is a traditional campus, it's still limited with space too. So we do, and we're also trying to start these groups. But again, like I said, as it is now, we have enough spaces for the different academic coaches to work with our students. We find space for all of them. But then to add on the different groups, we don't have enough space for that at this point. But all of these things are in the works. They're all on paper. It's part of my plan, just like the tutoring for students with learning disabilities, but it's not there yet. Just so you know, so I figured I'd be fast, so I'd go first.
I can talk a little bit about the Engage program at Dean College. It's a fairly new program, and it came out of, exactly as Mary said, the needs are out there, it's something that was pretty near and dear to my heart. So we did start with a pilot program last fall. It was incredibly successful. We had a 100% retention rate of students from the pilot program that remained at Dean College. But it really is a program for first-year students or students coming to Dean for their first time. The program is designed to assist students to build that self-awareness, to integrate into the community, and to become and to feel part of the Dean community. So it is not specifically for, but it is geared for students who are on the autism spectrum, or as I said, may be diagnosed with social pragmatic communication disorder or something similar to that. And we do offer, again, an early move-in for students who are part of this program to help them get acclimated to campus. We have weekly social skills building sessions. The facilitators for this program have gone through a UCLA peers training certification program. We have peer mentors that work with the students outside of these weekly sessions to practice the skills that we talk about during the sessions. The topics can really vary anywhere from effective communication, making friends, keeping friends, communal living, privacy and boundaries, how to get involved in campus, how to join a club, emotional regulation, classroom management, utilizing campus resources, all of those things. So we talk about them weekly, we practice them weekly outside of our sessions. We do offer a living learning community for our Engage program. The room that we meet in is a sensory friendly room. So we're proud of this program. It is a fee-based program. Students can enroll in Engage once they are accepted to Dean College. We also have a bundle where students can package both the Engage and the Arch Learning community together for a little bit of a discount, but both of those are fee-based services. If anybody has any questions, they certainly can reach out to my office.
Thank you. Ben, can you speak about any of the social emotional supports on the UConn campuses?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're kind of similar to the Arch and the Engage programs in the sense that we offer some similar type things here at UConn to those. So I'm glad we can kind of share in highlighting those. First in general, I guess I would say that, before I get into sort of like the Beyond Access, which again is the fee-based programs for general for UConn students, the services that they can access for free. We have a peer mentoring program that we run through our office. It's called Reaching Peers, that aims to connect students who are registered with our office with other students who are looking to either be a peer mentor or peer mentee. We have an Autism Spectrum Alliance Club at UConn that students can join, and it's sort of weekly meetings, connecting students with other students and sort of trying to form those social connections. In terms of, any other needs, we have just a general student health and wellness office here on campus that serves to be, health and wellness staff there, mental health staff are there, and they have different programs and services they offer to students as well. Again, shifting towards like the fee-based part of this, which is the Beyond Access program, there's a lot of different social opportunities we offer for that. First and foremost, I would say that, the students are meeting one-on-one with their strategy instructors each over the course of each week. So of course, things can always come up in meetings that we can work on and help with and talk through with our students. We also offer a weekly social group that we're the UConn Huskies. We call it Husky Hangouts, usually on Friday afternoons. Sort of the point of it is to be a space first and foremost where students can request different topics to go over. And, some of those, for example, this semester have been, making small talk, making connections on campus, sort of, regulating emotions, increasing self-confidence. We kind of pull students to ask about things that they want to talk about and go over. And so it'll be half going over topics like that and working through a lesson plan, and sort of half, facilitated social time where students connect with other students who want to come to that social group. The Beyond Access program also offers different sort of one-off social events over the course of the semester. They're kind of diverse in nature. It can be, when it's nice out here at UConn, it can be something outside. When it's colder out at UConn, it can be like an arts and crafts night or a movie night, or, with the UConn Huskies, the men's team just won the championship. So we had some students who wanted to watch basketball games together. So again, we try to offer a variety of different social events sort of as a one-off nature from the Beyond Access program. And again, we're also always looking to connect other Beyond Access students with, fellow Beyond Access students who might have any sort of need, whether it's looking for a roommate, whether it's trying to connect for a study group over a class, whatever it might be. So I would say, again, there's a couple options. There's some things on campus for all students, and then Beyond Access also provides a whole host of other options for students who are enrolled in the program.
Thank you. Any other comments about social emotional supports on campus?
I can jump in. Maryland is more similar to Fordham, so this will be short and sweet. So overall, we do have a lot of student-led organizations and clubs on campus. I know we have students who are actively looking into something specifically in this realm, but fee-based services, it would be Cigna, which is through the university's hearing and speech department, and that is the organization that works specifically with neurodiverse students, mostly students with ADHD and or autism, and really helps them with that like social engagement aspect of like entering a university. So that is the primary support Maryland currently has.
Thank you, Monica. That makes me think a little bit about other transition programs. So I know that universities typically offer accepted students days and some type of freshman mentoring program. But through the offices of students with disabilities, are there special transition programs that are offered for students coming to your campus?
I can go first on this one. Short and sweet. Again, we don't have anything specific, given the size of the university. We just don't necessarily have the capacity within our office space to provide specific programming for students. But the university does have every single freshman student take a UNIV course, which is designed for an introduction to student life, and the university in general. So the university takes that approach in that sense. But we do welcome events and specific things for students. And then ADS holds, specific events at the beginning of each semester to kind of welcome students back and try to engage.
So we do have a week, excuse me, I can't remember which school it was, but they had we call it Start Strong. And so students can move in. And that's primarily students who do have some sort of diagnosis to get to know each other a little bit and connect, and also the inner workings of the university. We also have a living learning community for that same type of students, and first gen students also will participate in that. We offer a class that's specifically on executive functioning. And all that time management, it's not for credit. It's an 8 to 10 week class, depending on our learning specialists run that. It's all on metacognition and where your strengths are and how you can use that to help with your soft spots. And that one is becoming very popular. But we don't have any specific programs other than those.
Yeah, and as for UConn, I've been talking about Beyond Access a lot here. So Beyond Access does sort of serve as a transition program in a way. You know, we find that's one of the most popular reasons that we're hearing students are signing up for Beyond Access in their first year or as a transfer student is to help get acclimated to school. So it does partially serve as that, but again, it can be purposed for a variety of needs. But for freshman students, for first-time students and transfer students, that is one of the most popular reasons. I would say in addition to that, UConn also offers, you know, through Beyond Access and through our Center for Students with Disabilities, we offer what we call the UConn GPS program, Getting Prepared for Success. This program is offered the week before the fall semester starts, so once per year. Just, you know, again, for context, I think our fall 2024 semester is going to start August 26th. Our GPS program is going to be Monday, August 19th. It features early arrival, so students move in exactly to where their dorms are going to be for their fall semester housing, so they don't have to move twice. They're moving right into where they'll be living in the fall. And sort of we have, you know, 3 to 4 days of programming where we're doing sort of things like getting students familiar with campus. So we'll walk them around, make sure even though they came for maybe to a tour or orientation, that they're comfortable navigating campus and seeing where the big things are and answering questions. We'll take them to their specific classrooms and classroom buildings. So they'll send us their schedules and we'll form sort of small groups based on similar schedules, and we'll make sure we walk around and, you know, find their classes ahead of time. A lot of students like having that out of the way before the first week starts. They obviously get to meet a group of students who are participating in the program, and students like being able to form those connections and have people they know heading into the start of the year. And then we'll also sort of work on, you know, different academic and social workshops. Like we'll do a workshop on college expectations, you know, the difference between high school and college, you know, making sure that students from like an executive function support standpoint are ready for the week to start and, you know, are thinking about the things they need for that first week, like accessing their UConn email, our online learning platforms. How are they going to take notes? You know, are they all set for their classes to start? And so again, that's a specific 1-week program that we offer. It's called UConn GPS. It's the week before the fall semester. You don't have to, students don't have to do that and Beyond Access. We do see a lot of overlap because a lot of Beyond Access staff is there for the GPS program as well, but students can pick one or the other. They can, you know, they can focus on Beyond Access during the semester. They could do GPS before it starts, or they could do both.
Yeah, at Dean College, we do offer early move-in for our Engage and our Arch Learning Community students. So we invite them to campus early, and very similar to UConn. The purpose is so that they get used to being on campus, so that we can take that time before the semester begins to give them their schedule, help them find their way around campus, have access to our online learning system, make sure their accommodations are in place. We help them send their letters to their professors with their accommodations. We make sure that they know how to sign up for a tutoring appointment, a writing center appointment, math center appointment, those kinds of things. The advisors are all on campus early with them, so they get to form a relationship with their advisors. We do some social programming in the evening so that they can get to know other students in the program, so that when school starts, they're ready for their first day.
Yeah, so we do have a program. We used to call it the TYP program, Transitional Year Program, but as I explained before, we kind of just put it into academic coaching. It just makes things easier because essentially it's something that it's the same, although freshman year it's a little, it has an added touch. So as I told you, it's the PhD students, some MSWs, and sometimes it's one of the full-time people in the office. But if there are any, so we help them in that program is helping them with their executive functioning skills, time management, organization, things like that. Similar to what some other people said. But since we have 1,800 students, but we are all the ones at the Rose Hill campus. We're all housed in one space as far as the staff, and same with Lincoln Center. So we have a very different approach as far as like, and I'm sure everybody else is too, but students get to know us, you know, even though there's that many students, they get to, you know, someone can just kind of pop in. Sometimes it's not that simple, but you know, someone's having a bad day, someone's confused where to go. They can just pop in and say, Mary, hi, I did an intake with you. How do I get to the cafeteria? Or how do I get dining dollars? Or where's the school store or whatever? It's just a little different. Ours is in this cute little house or office. It's an old house, but I don't know, for whatever reason, the kids just, I don't know if they feel like they're at home. They all say it's so cozy. We think it's going to fall down, but they love it. So they just get to be very comfortable there, and they just come in all the time. And we also have a lot of student workers. We have some grad students. And so everyone is always really, a lot of our student workers actually are clients as well. So it's really nice. Everyone kind of likes to help everyone. It's just like a little more informal. I wish that we still had a number of these other programs, and I want to talk to everybody in the future, but a number of these programs that you guys are talking about. But because we don't, the full-time staff, we're very, everyone's very, and I'm sure everybody is very dedicated everywhere in this type of but it's just kind of like a hands-on thing, because we don't have all the staff to do it and with the sheer numbers of students. But also our coaches, they will if they don't know the answer to a question, because as you know, freshmen, they're afraid of their roommates. They don't know where to go to get coffee. They don't like the bathrooms. They don't like all of these things. And it's funny how these are the things that the freshmen will talk to, not only about their schoolwork and how they're like, I didn't even know that I had a quiz today. I missed that somehow. So the coaches will work on them, obviously, with how to write things down and how to organize things and a calendar and, you know, whatever method calendar this student will identify with, whether it's on the phone or an actual paper calendar or whatever. But they can also add, there's so many things that they discuss with the coach, which is kind of nice though, because the coaches can also, if there's anybody that they're worried about, we have someone, one of my associate director is actually the coordinator of all the coaches. So they know to go to Jessica if they're worried about anybody, whether it's academically worried about them, or even though no one's a certified therapist or whatever, we just, with all the kids we deal with, it's you know, everyone on here knows how you get to know the kids, and you can identify when kids are struggling, whether it's mentally or academically. And so we have meetings. Jessica meets with them regularly to see if there's any students that they are concerned with for whatever reason. And then also just basic questions. Like I said, like we have at Fordham, we have 3 campuses, and 2 main campuses are the Bronx campus and the Manhattan campus. And they have a RAM van that will take students back and forth. They'll, you know, they don't know, and they're embarrassed to ask anybody else, where do I get a RAM van ticket? Where does the RAM van come? What do I do? All those things, somebody is available to help them all the time. It starts with the coach, and then it will come to us if the coach doesn't know it. So we hold hands. I will say freshman year, particularly fall semester, and I am sure everyone does when you can. It's just that we have a small staff, so it's a little easier to get to know some of the kids. So that's what we have for coaching.
Thank you. I was going to just kind of summarize and mention that it sounds like this is such a great opportunity for people to hear about all of the different supports that are available on schools. And, I think Ben said, go to the website, and that so many of you have said, call us, ask questions. And that's such a part of the research. And then, Mary, to hear you talk about you're like a home base or a haven for the students. So while you're designed to be academic supports, kids rely on you for so many things. And I think that that's so nice to hear, coming from Darien High School, where sometimes a learning center or a case manager teacher serves that purpose for a student, or, I'm in the school counseling office, and the school counselors serve that purpose for students. So it's really nice to hear that those relationships are available at all of your campuses as well. I think I have one more question I just wanted to ask, and then maybe two quick one-word answer questions before I turn it back over to Trisha. So my one question is, what would a student do if a professor is unwilling to provide an accommodation like extra time? I mean, does that happen?
There's misunderstandings sometimes in how the accommodations should be implemented. I have to be honest with you, I've only been in this position for 3.5 years, and the last 2 years have been on developing solid relationships with the faculty. So they know to come to us preemptively. I don't understand this accommodation. What's the best plan? We also created a faculty resource cheat sheet that talks about the standard accommodations, what their responsibility is and what our responsibility is. Because I had professors thinking they had to provide the assistive tech. But usually a student will come and say, this happened, and we investigate and we'll meet with the professors and usually clear it up. There is a grievance process. If something does go awry, if the professor isn't going to listen to me, and this rarely happens, but there is a process for them to push to have an investigation for a grade correction or something like that, whatever the outcome is. But it really has to be based on them not facilitating the accommodation period. But it's in a lot of ways we're the best friend for the professors, because we really help them figure out what's best for the student. And once student sends the accommodation letter, that makes that bridge. It gives us permission to talk to the professor and let them know if there's anything else we know, let them know our resources, and also try to get the student to go to them in office hours. That alleviates a lot of complications if they are comfortable talking to the professor before there's a problem. So we tell them within the first 2 weeks, make an office appointment. I want to introduce myself. I want you to know my face, and I see that I care. I care about learning. And that really is the best seed for a good relationship that we can help out with if there are any things that go awry.
Any other comments about a challenge if a professor doesn't provide an accommodation?
Yeah, I would say at UConn, it's similar to what was just shared. So basically, the process of how it works here is that when students register with our Center for Students with Disabilities, again, they are assigned a specific person, a one-on-one contact here in our office. We call it the DSP, Disability Service Professional. That will be their person that they can go to if there's any sort of issues or concerns or sort of situations that come up that they don't know how to navigate. On top of that, though, how the process usually works is we try our best as an office to be as proactive as possible. So when students are approved for accommodations, that's from an overarching big picture point of view. And then again, after that initial process, they have to request their specific accommodations each semester for each of their new classes, right? So again, if they're approved for extended testing time, if they're approved for deadline extensions, what they're doing each semester is saying they're going in our portal and they're requesting that for their classes. Once we get those notifications from the student, the letters that they send to us saying they would like those accommodations for classes, what we do as an office is each DSP sends specifically to all of the students' professors a big email communication saying, this student in your class is approved for these accommodations. This is what this accommodation means. This is what the responsibilities of the student are. This is what the responsibility of you as the professor are. This is what we can assist with as an office. And so we're really trying to be as proactive as possible from the jump, and sort of the same thing that's been shared by everyone in terms of being able to be a resource for professors who, again, may or may not be from a background where they've encountered these accommodations before, or they've been trained in working with students with disabilities, or they're given support by UConn in terms of how they can best go about it. We're really trying to be as proactive as possible with that. And again, usually that takes care of things for the most part. I'm sure we can all testify that there are professors who, whether they don't get it or they're not seeing things the same way. And if that does happen, which, it can happen here at UConn, the individual contact our office is always available to work with each student, to be the person who can step in, who can meet with the professor with the student, who can help with communication, whatever it might be.
Thank you. So encourage conversation, face-to-face conversation, self-advocacy, independence, and when else fails, rely on your office for supports. So thank you. I don't know, Tricia, if we have time for another quick question or if we should look at the Q&A.
That's up to you. We probably have for maybe one more. Yeah, we have about 6 questions in the chat.
Okay, so I was going to do like a rapid fire kind of 2 quick questions. The first one is your school test optional? Kathy, is your school test optional?
What is that? That would be a hard no. Meaning that they don't have to take tests with the professors, or meaning the documentation?
No, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm talking, I should have clarified. We've been talking about accommodations in the classroom, and I switched back to admissions. So does your school require
No, we
SATs
don't.
or ACTs for admissions?
We don't.
I clarify my question. Mary, does your school require the SAT or the ACT for admissions?
Right now, they switched to test optional since 2020, but I'm going to tell you, I tutor for the SATs and I help with college essays. And this past year has been a really, really tough year. And I would encourage your students to take the SATs and see how they do. Because I noticed a ton of kids that I've worked with not getting into colleges, and not just this year, but last year too. It seems like the kids who are taking the SATs and they're getting somewhere in the range of where they normally wanted them to be. Even though they may be lower, they seem to be getting in, while other kids who have the same grades but don't submit SAT scores are not getting in.
So still test optional, but you would advise.
This is just my own experience.
Yep.
I'm not just saying it Fordham. I'm saying, yeah.
Okay. Ben, UConn test optional?
Yep, UConn's test optional. It's going to be that way for the foreseeable future.
Thank you. Monica?
Yes, UMD is currently test optional.
And Lynn?
Yes, we've been test optional for quite some time and will remain that way.
Good to hear. Good to hear. All right. My other rapid fire question. Are students required to fulfill a world language requirement?
No, only if it's required for their major. Very few.
Mary?
Yeah, they are. It is for 4 semesters of one foreign language, with the last semester being an exit level that you have to pass. You have to pass the test.
Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, there is a foreign language requirement as a general education requirement for all UConn students, regardless of major. What we say is that can be satisfied a number of ways. It could be satisfied by high school credit or by taking classes at UConn. We do offer, though, the accommodation for a language-based course substitution. We always say if that is something you think would be appropriate for a student, to be proactive in communication with our office, and we can figure out, based on sort of eligibility and the student specific situation, if that's something that we can approve, and if so, that can satisfy the requirement as well.
Thank you. Monica?
It is major dependent. Not a lot of majors require it. And then American Sign Language is typically also accepted as a foreign language within those requirements.
If Shirley Klein is listening, she's very happy about that, Monica. Lynn?
No, we do not have a foreign language requirement.
Right, thank you. So I did want to leave some time, Trisha, for you to go back to the question and answers from the chat. I think I can turn it over to you right now. I just wanted to really thank everyone. This information is so helpful, and I want to encourage parents to ask questions and really find that fit. Every program is not for every student, so finding one that meets your child's needs is really key. And to ask questions of the colleges and universities, and also of the support staff and school counselors, special education. You know, we're all here to help you find a good fit for your student.
Okay, so we have, you're not off the hook yet there, Kathy, but we'll
Okay.
start asking some of the questions and then, um, we're really happy to hear about the sign language also because CPAC has been promoting, hopefully, to get that, and we now have it, which is awesome at Darien High School. So the one of the first questions is how does we sort of touched on this, but in specific, maybe not the specifics. How do students typically qualify for these support services? Is having an IEP with a school diagnosis of ADHD enough, or would a neuropsych evaluation be needed?
We would want a diagnosis from a medical professional, from a clinical specialist, and the if it is ADHD, and then the IEP just provides great information for our conversation on what's going to work and what's going to help. School psychological testing, again, those scores can help show us where the soft areas are and where the student needs help. But we do require a diagnosis from a clinical expert.
At Maryland, it really can depend on what you're requesting accommodation-wise, but we do accept IEPs or 504s as the only documentation a student provides. Again, it is accommodation dependent for whatever student need is.
Yeah, I would say UConn's pretty similar to what people have shared so far. In our registration process, there's a documentation section, and we tell students whether they're asking before they come to UConn or during that process to submit whatever they feel is appropriate. And again, whatever they submit is something that's going to be reviewed by our office. And when we sit down with each student, we'll be able to go through that process and say, okay, based on what you're asking for and what your condition is and what you've supplied, this makes sense, or maybe there's guidelines that we need to follow in terms of looking for further documentation. So again, it's really hard to say, like, you know, like we're all kind of saying, like it is hard to give a blanket statement, but it is something that, you know, again, the students, at least here at UConn, can submit documentation they have, and they will be able to get direct guidance from the individual person in our office on if that's, you know, suited for whatever their accommodations they're asking for, or if they would need to provide more.
I would agree that it is disability dependent, but I would like to add that at least at Dean College, we do look for documentation to be within the last 5 years. So we want it to be semi-current. We used to do 3 years, but you know, with the pandemic, it was you know, difficult for families to get appointments with some providers, but we do look to have documentation be recent within the last 5 years.
That's the same for Fordham. Well, it's 4 years, but we will accept a 504 or IEP. If you're going to give us a letter from your therapist or the person, the diagnostician, it would be nice also if they have a neuropsych, or if they want to give us the letter plus the 504 and the IEP or the IEP, that works for us too, only because those documents, the neuropsych, the IEP, 504, they just give us more information in addition to when we sit down with the student as well, because just because you have ADHD doesn't mean that it's like your friend's ADHD.
Okay, thanks. And then we have another one. When visiting a school, can one visit the department or speak with someone, like to, you know, visit one of your departments while they're there?
We would welcome it. Sometimes when it's the orientation time, it's a little bit hard to get an appointment with us, but all summer long, we do intakes and we do families who are thinking of coming. Zoom calls have been the blessing for that, because most of our students are from pretty far away. So yeah, absolutely. And we love nothing better than to talk about our process and how to get you to do it ahead of time so that the student isn't coming in 2 weeks after the semester starts and saying, I thought I was done with special ed, but I guess I need specific ed. So we really do want you to reach out to us and contact us.
I think I would say to any family out there, reach out to the school that you're interested in, call the admissions office. If you want a specialized visit with, accessibility services or a specialized program within that school, they should be able to fulfill that request, right? You want to talk to somebody that's in that department that you are looking to have your student be a part of. So you want them to be accommodating for you. Lots of schools will offer webinars, they'll offer learning support, presentations over the summer or on weekends. So, hit the websites of all the different schools, find out when is best for you to visit, where you're going to get the information that you want. But if you don't see it there, then ask. And I would think any good admissions office is going to be very accommodating and very helpful in setting you up to meet with the exact person that's going to give you the information that you need for your student.
Same at Fordham, just like anywhere. I would just encourage what I think the others said, to make an appointment. We are, as I said before, we're a very small staff, so you might come in and we could be with the student, or who knows what's for meetings or whatever else. So if this way we can really give you thoughtful feedback. Also, we're welcome to Zoom calls, and we're welcome to phone calls. We can make appointments for those too, if it's going to be, some people want more specific answers and want to go into more of a conversation, and that's great. We love that. We just prefer if you could make an appointment if you think it's going to be a longer conversation, which that's totally fine. We just need an appointment.
At the University of Maryland, it would also have to be appointment-based. We do consultation appointments for any parent, student who's interested in learning more about our department specifically. That's where you would meet one-on-one with a disability specialist. We'd walk you through our processes and all of that information. We currently don't have all of our disability specialists on campus at once. We are hybrids in schedule, given our office size. So if you come, you can meet with our wonderful front desk staff and they will help you. But to speak to a specialist, definitely schedule an appointment for that Zoom consultation.
Yeah, and I would say for UConn, pretty much the same thing that everybody else is saying. We always encourage students to reach out, whether it's directly to our office or to our Beyond Access program, if anyone would like to schedule an appointment to talk more about accommodations in general or our Beyond Access program. The only thing I'll add that is also kind of relevant here is that at UConn, through the CSD, we also like to offer prospective student info sessions. We do those virtually over the course of both the fall and the spring semester. Usually there's about 6 or 7 of them across each academic semester. So that's just another way, we try to run those. They're hosted by disability service professionals who are working here at our office, goes over the general process of accommodations. It's time to ask questions. Students can, then get connected with someone from our office through one of those to also talk more about whatever's going on. So we like to offer those as well.
Great, thank you. And while we have you here, Ben, the next question is just for you. It asks, can the UConn representative talk more about what is offered for a student with significant physical disabilities, such as quadriplegia, who would need PCA support and hands-on physical assistance?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, in cases like this where there might be specific things the student is looking for, again, we're always going to encourage to, register with our office once that student is admitted to UConn and coming to UConn to be able to talk in specifics. I can share from a general perspective now for, those sorts of areas. I would say that the CSD, that's our Center for Students with Disabilities here, we help both in identifying PCAs for students who might be looking for one, as well as approving those PCAs if there already is one in mind, so that they can have things like campus accessibility, parking, just be included in the mix here at UConn, so they're able to access those supports. Other things that typically come to mind in this area, we are able to approve students to live on like the first floor of housing for residential accommodations, if that would be a help. in terms of being able to, be in classes on the first floor or make sure classroom buildings are accessible or really any sort of buildings are accessible on campus. Those are general things that we talk to these students about. So again, that's about as general as I would probably say. And if there's anything more specific, A, I would be happy to talk with someone, at a further time, or B, we would always say, if there's anything specific looking for, reach out to our office and we can go over it more in detail.
Great, thank you. This might be the same as public schools, but someone asked, what documents do you accept from a private or therapeutic boarding school? If anyone has an answer that's, different or something. Thank you.
I think if a student is coming from a private school and doesn't have an IEP or a 504, most private schools will provide what they refer to as a learning profile. And it provides the same information as a 504 or an IEP that gives us a good idea of what accommodations would benefit the student, so that we can work with the learning profile.
Sometimes we'll give accommodations provisionally and give the student a chance to get whatever documentation they need. If they need to go see a doctor, if it's ADHD or whatever, we'll cover them until they can gather that. But that is a real problem. And it's mostly because we don't get that juicy information that Mary was talking about from the psychological testing. So it might take us a little bit more effort to figure out what's the student actually needs and what's going to help them the most.
Okay, so does everyone think that's good? We probably can go to the next question. Okay. Does the school require additional testing once they are accepted, if their documentation is current? Probably not, right? Because you had just all said within the 5 years or something. Okay.
Some schools are 3. We've seen, I think the pandemic pushed it to 5, but typically it's 3 years of, up to date. And then I'm just looking at the questions too. I don't think schools, any colleges require the neuropsych evaluation, the documentation from the school. Or Kathy's point, a diagnosis of ADD comes from a medical doctor sometimes or a psychologist. This is an interesting question. What services do kids request that you would not provide? Wait, that you would like to provide but cannot?
I
What
think
services?
I think people answered that a little bit, right?
I would personally, I would like to give every student a single room and their own bathroom. I think we're just not used to sharing that kind of space with people, and it's hard, and it takes some developing skills. But I wish I could give everybody a single room.
Yeah, a lot of students are used to having some private time, and it's difficult when they need to share a room and be on all the time. That's a good
It's
hope.
it's also what we have found, and it's been statistically proven somehow with Res Life. If you rely on the computer essay that the students fill out to get a good match, 9 out of 10 times the computer gets it right, and the students matching themselves because they met each other at orientation and thought they found their bridesmaid for the rest of their life. And it just doesn't work. The computer gets it spot on. So trust that.
So go random. Is that what we're supposed to?
Go random. And the thing is you're not stuck there at our school anyway. They'll work with you. They'll try to figure something out, connect you with somebody else if it's really, really a nightmare. But more importantly, there's RSAs and residential life directors that'll sit down and help you learn those skills to negotiate. And those are skills you're going to use in your job someday. Getting over
Yeah.
those personal issues and being able to assert yourself and say, this is what I need, this is what I want.
Yeah.
You're not alone in.
Yeah, again, the self-advocacy and asking questions and open lines of communication, it's important. I think the last question is just about the cost of programming. I know Ben had mentioned, look at websites. I don't even know if Beyond Access or Arch Learning, if those are posted on the website or if that's something that the cost of the programs are posted on the websites.
Yeah, I would say for Beyond Access, you can find everything on our website. I can just answer that while I'm here. Again, beyond access functions, students are signing up for either 1, 2, or 3 hours per week, and the fee depends on how many hours you're signing up for. So 1 hour per week is usually around 2,000, 2 hours per week is around 3,000, and 3 hours per week is around 4,000. And again, that's semester by semester. So you're only signing up for 1 semester at a time. Beyond Access does offer scholarships for students who are looking for some financial assistance. So we have those applications open each semester for students to apply to, and we offer payment plan options as well for students who might need that in addition to everything else.
Great, thanks, Ben. Lynn, did you want to answer that quickly?
Sure, absolutely. So the additional cost for the Arch Learning Community is $37.50 per semester. For the Engage program, it's $32.50 per semester. And then if you or your student is interested in doing both of them together, then there's a little bit of a discount.
Thank you. So Tricia, I think we cleared the room with questions, and I know that people's time is precious too. So I think thank you so much to the parents who came out tonight. Tricia, thanks to you and your committee, and as we mentioned, the library and the staff at Darien High School, and all of you from who took time out to join us here in Darien from your schools. We really, really appreciate it.
Yes, and just to add, and thank you, Kathy, for moderating for us tonight, and all of our panelists. Thank you so much. And we also, if you missed the beginning, this has been recorded. The Darien Library will send it to us, and we will send it out on our Darien CPAC eBlast. So if you're not, and also the some contact information for the panelists. So if you are not on our CPAC eBlast, it's just dariencpac@gmail.com. So thanks so much, everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good
Have a good
night.
night. Bye-bye.
Thank
Good night,
you.
everyone.